directions. I didn't mean it. Please forgive me. Written by writingsindystopia. I didn't mean it. Sweetheart, when you died, I cried at your grave for days. It was too much for me to bear. I missed your smiles, your laughs every single day when you'd come home and hug me, on the good days and the bad. When we'd eat popcorn together on the sofa, laughing at comedies, burrowing beneath our covers when the horror flick showcased jump scares and eerie music. Then we'd sleep in each other's arms, protecting each other and being protected by one another as blissful sleep brought us to the realm of dreams. It hurt me to see you 6 foot under, and although I felt so very upset at you, I couldn't help but feel like you deserved it. I'm so sorry. I didn't really mean it. You see, we knew each other since we were children. We were best friends, the closest of all. I had always looked on that point with unmeasurable pride. We'd play together, running through my father's wheat field and orchards, lay down on the grassy hills watching the meteor shower out in the fireflies. Everything. We did everything with one another. Then came school, and there were some bullies, yes. There were some that targeted us too. But we stood strong. University was a breeze, and we sailed through life on a boat in a calm sea. Our lives were happy as long as we had one another. There was never a day when we did not see each other. I'm still so proud of us. Eventually, we turned 23, and it was at that time you decided we should get married, start a family, live the rest of our lives together. You brought me to the nicest restaurants in our little town, and you got down on one knee with a ring. A beautiful ring of woven gold threads, inlaid with small diamonds like the stars of the night sky. I still wear the ring. It reminds me of you. Of course I said yes, and we exchanged our vows under the image of heaven in the church with a glass roof, some distance away from here. But it was worth the drive. The place was so magnificent, so stunning. I couldn't imagine that you had done this all for me, for us. I walked down the aisle with no family by my side, holding a picture of my mother and father in my hands. You held me at the aisle and gave me a hug, promising me we would be all right, that you would protect me no matter what. At the altar, we took our vows. You looked into my eyes, and I looked into yours. Such a vibrant sea green, almost as if I could see the sparkling universe within them. Such beauty rested in those eyes. I could never bear tear my eyes away. We promised each other beneath heaven's watchful eye to go through life together, to grow old alongside one another, to be each other's support when either of us need, to be faithful to each other. Through thick and thin, we shall always be together. We were together for 4 years now, as a couple. It had been a blissful 4 years, each day filled with so much happiness. I felt like I was the luckiest lady in the world. I hope you felt the same. I think you felt the same. I cooked your favorite meals all the time. I made sure your shirts and pants were ironed to a crisp and neat finish for the appointments at work the next morning, no matter how weary I was from the day. Just the thought of your smile and the thank you on your lips was enough for me. Until today. I'm still surprised. How did we fall apart? You started to draw away from me. You didn't refuse my hugs or smiles, but whenever you reciprocate these movements, it felt like you weren't really there. that it was just a shell of you embracing me, pressing your body against mine in a symbol of comfort where comfort didn't exist in your movements. I asked you, why were you always on your phone? Even when we were watching movies together, even when we were eating. You had looked up with a tired smile, just saying that work was heavy and his boss was over-demanding. I trusted you, Adrian. I believed you. Eventually, it became too much. I looked through your phone. I'm so sorry, Adrian, but I had to find out why. Maybe we could talk it out. Maybe we could have compromised. I couldn't have children. Maybe that's why you didn't want me. Those text messages were from Annie, our high school friend. She was never really close to you. Why did she start now? I love you, Adrian. I can't wait to see you this Friday. 2:00 p.m. I can't wait to see you more, sweet Annie. 2:01 p.m. Aw, you're too charming. See you at 5, yeah? 2:01 p.m. What do we do about Celine? She'll know if you don't go home. Besides, you're so devoted to her. 3:03 p.m. I wish I could read some more, but having my heart broken to make you happy would have been a pit of hell I'd jump into just to see that smile tilt up your lips. But I couldn't let this go. It was a sort of anger. I hope you'll forgive me, Adrian. I probably wasn't in my right mind. I know how betrayal feels, right? The next message you sent to Annie, that was my breaking point. It's fine. I'll just say I'll be at work. She won't even know. 3:04 p.m. Why did you lie? It was Friday morning, before you woke up, that I read your messages. I was too shocked to cry. And you know I don't cry very often when I'm around you. You are one of the only things that made me happy. At 5 o'clock, I dropped into town to search for you two, and I found both of you talking over the table as if it were us on our first date. From the shop where I stood, you probably wouldn't have seen me, but once I got home, I started to type out an email to both of you. Would you both like to go camping this Sunday? I'll pack. And you know, Annie had replied only 2 hours later, and then you replied at around the same time. Something was up. It couldn't have been just a mere coincidence. It was the first time in 3 years I took down the small pistol in his camouflage holster from his exhibit near our living room clock. On Sunday, when we got into the car early in the morning, I packed the bags and got everything ready. You just thought I was excited for our little reunion. Yes, I was excited. We drove to Annie's, and all three of us drove up to the mountains where we used to hike when we were kids, fresh into the hallways of high school. And we'd sit there for hours, roasting marshmallows and telling exaggerated ghost stories, just to see who would crap their pants first. And it was always Annie, the little scaredy cat. I remember she hated knives most, right? You stoked the fire, and I unpacked the telescope. I only packed one tent, the smallest one we had. Annie took her turn to look at the stars, and as you had your back to me, I grabbed my bat and knocked you out first. The thump was barely enough to make Annie turn around, but when she did, I was ready for her. Please forgive me, Adrian. I was so upset. I had grabbed the strong ropes I brought, placing them at the side, and propping you against the log. I settled down to Annie, stabbing the knife into her chest. It was quick and painless. I'm happy that she didn't wake up from her stupor as I slammed the sharp dagger over and over again into her chest and abdomen. I had my gloves on and a disposable apron. What could go wrong? The lungs. That won't do. I removed her heart, her liver, her kidneys. I poured some water into a pot to boil over the fire. I cleaned and threw the kidneys and bits of liver. I thought, maybe I should add some muscles too. I took what I could. I buried the rest nearby after covering your mouth and nose in a small dose of chloroform, just to make sure you wouldn't know what happened. I wanted to save that for later. I thought I'd savor the moment when you'd scream, but now I felt that was stupid of me. I would never feel that way. I was angry, Adrian. I think you would understand. Of all people. And when you woke up, you asked me where Annie was. I replied easily, stirring the pot. She went to the old lake to check out the tree we used to visit, the willow. You believed me and eagerly accepted the stew I had prepared for you. I didn't eat. I watched you. I said I had my fill before you woke. Apologized for accidentally hitting you when I was trying to have a test swing or two with my trusty wooden bat. I hid the knife in my pants and the gun beneath my shirt. In the firelight, you wouldn't have seen it as I toasted pieces of meat for you over the fire, sandwiching marshmallows between bits of bacon and graham crackers. You said it was delicious. I smiled. After 2 hours, you asked me again where Annie was. I figured it was high time I tell you. I fingered the gun in my holster. I pointed at the stew. You laughed. It was uneasy. You thought I was joking. It sounded too strange to be true, didn't it? You told me not to joke around. And where was Annie? I pulled out my knife and I pointed at the stew again. It was only now you understood me, and you slowly backed away. I raised my gun. I wanted this quick for you, so you wouldn't have to suffer. We'd promised each other to be there for one another, but you lied to me. You left me. You backed into a tree, and I fired, both hairs shaking as hot tears rolled down my cheeks. I dropped to my knees. I hugged you as your dying breath was released from your body. I was so hurt from your lies. I only realized my folly after my bullet had marked its course. Anger dissipated from me like a mist of heat when the cool rains came. Even so, I forgave you. Would you forgive me? I gave you a proper burial beside Annie because we were best friends. You loved her too. I loved her. She loved us, but you lied to me for her. I'm so sorry. I was so rash and irrational. I was driven by hatred, by betrayal. I stumbled about, crying after you died, after that bullet pierced through your throat and I whispered my love for you in your deafening ears. Now, I write this beside your grave. Maybe I'll show this to someone before I join you in heaven or hell, wherever you may be. I didn't mean it. I beg you to forgive me.